involved in the Sturbridge Village military camps. We have some styles of dress that we're going to be looking at. We're also going to be some drills by the British and by the colonials. And we're going to have a good time and sort of hold your ears because there's a lot of firing going on during these practices and so forth. So let's go. Again, my name is Robert Boissel.
It carries the hemoglobin for hemoglobin because they didn't know what plasma or hemoglobin was in those days. So essentially, he bled to death.
Herb Brenner, I do.
Yeah.
What was this one for?
This is. Second is going to be down in the field. They've got a really nice setup and stuff. We got the best food and get the best uniforms.
16, something like 16 or 20 horses at his disposal, like the one he rode. So the officers would have not only have themselves, but they could afford to have their families with them. So their families would be traveling with the officers at all times. So that's why you have all this stuff. Now, what happened after the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, Cornwallis took all his baggage, including his very valuable book collection, and burned it. So he could keep up with Nathaniel Greene. He had made all the other officers do the same thing. So they burned all of the fairly large wedge tents like that one there. But they reduced the amount of stuff that they had or carried with them to a minimum. In fact, they had to start carrying it themselves. The men would carry a third of the equipage with them on their backs. The rest of the stuff, the heavy stuff like the canvas, what attacked the baggage train. Unfortunately, the baggage train was protected by the Brigade of Guards. General Cornwallis turned the guards around and started attacking General Lee. He sent word forward to General Clinton. He turned the entire army around. The Battle of Monmouth is the only battle during the entire American Revolution where the two actual armies actually fought each other. Basically, it turned out to be a draw because of the heat. More of the soldiers died from the heat than died from actual wounds.
I was going to ask you what you wanted. I don't know what you want. You want me to? Okay. Well, you don't usually carry one, so.
Mission in His Majesty's Army, and when you're wearing this, you're on duty. Many regiments had this, even down to the time of the 1930s. The Panzer Grenadiers of the German World War II Army also wore them. So it's an old thing. In the British Army today, the generals and up to Field Marshal, they have.
They have a weak stomach because it gets a little heavy. They can leave now. Oh? Okay. Why don't you start, Doctor, with the less ghastly stuff?
The less ghastly stuff? Well, I'll start with the most successful.
Right, that's what we kill fewer people with.
This is for trepanning. It's still even used today modernly, but the Egyptians discovered that if someone had a head wound, that they knew that the brain was expanding and had no place to go, and by tapping into the skull, that would relieve the pressure. And a lot of our patients survived from this compared to the other operations that we did. Afterwards, we would, once we tap it out and we see that the patient is getting better, then we would take a silver coin and put it back in his head, and he went off in his happy way eventually. Now a soldier, if he had a bad tooth, we didn't do a lot of dentistry other than pulling a bad tooth. And this is the little instrument that they would use to pull a tooth. We would get in there and pull it right out. As long as the soldier has an upper and lower tooth that matches, he then can pull his cartridge and load his gun.
Regiment of foot was in the regiment during the Napoleonic period for 15 years before they discovered she was a woman. They gave.
Let me tell you folks, half the battlefield, underwater. Okay? So I hope everybody understands what we saw. Alright? Okay, so this is your rank. Remember where you are. Okay? Now, so you're marching.
Disregard.
Forte! Close arms!
Okay. Impossible, sur la fusil. The scenario today is we're going to be doing is Stephen going to be with us in the battle?
Yeah, he's just still catching up.
Okay. So Stephen and Justin will be in charge of each of the two sections. They will appoint a corporal. When I appoint a corporal, now I want everybody to pay attention. If I appoint Abe as a corporal of this rank from here to here, you are his. You stay with him no matter where he goes. He's
Front! Break! March! Guide off! Column!
Right to the left, face. Right, quick, stop. Step. Grenadiers. Halt. Right, quick. One step to the right, quick, off. Corporal Motherweather in charge of the rear rank. Corporal Mental in front of the front, in charge of the front rank. Battalion. Will advance by ranks while firing. Commence firing.
Front rank, make way. Present. Fire. Private load.
Rear rank, front, west, start. Rear rank, halt. Make ready. Present. Fire. Private load.
Front rank, front quick, march. Take care. Halt. Rest. Take ready. Present. Fire. Private load.
Rear rank, front, west, march. Rear rank, halt. Rear rank, thrust to the right, thrust. Make ready. Present. Fire. Private load.
Front rank, make ready. Present. Fire.
Cease firing. Shoulder,
rank.
firelock. Cut
Have
your
time,
hand.
fire lock. Shoulder, fire lock. Shut hand.
Front rank, right about, face. Front, quick, hard. Take care. Hold. Rear rank, right about, face. Rear rank, right about, face. Place your hammer stall. Bayonet! To the front! Slow! Hard!
Wheel. Front.
I saw you taking
Hey,
photos.
step forward, quick, hard!
This is a pretty sharp looking outfit, I would think.
Front, face! Come in, here's again.
You're hanging around for that, it sounds like.
Probably, yeah.
Sixth year they've done this. That's become,
Battalion,
said to me,
to the right,
they've got
face!
about 850 reenactors.
To the front! Break! March! Right! Wheel!
How much smoke? A lot. This is black powder. It's not smokeless powder. That doesn't come in for another 100 years. So the black powder, the problem is you put 1,000 men in the field and they start shooting at each other. Very shortly, you can't see anything. You can't see your own men. And so the idea of camouflage was not really what it is today. First of all, the weapons are not as accurate by a long shot, and your visibility on a field of battle is already greatly reduced by the black powder smoke. So having men dressed like this actually makes a great deal of sense. So, these are grenadiers in the front. As you can see, they're rather burly, rather strong, and a little tall. They were picked for their physical stature. Would you like to explain briefly what where
To our movement into the Boston area, grenadiers were throwers of grenades, hence grenadiers. We were a type of shock troop. The tactics had changed as such. The grenades were no longer practical. But as an affectation of our status as the senior company in the regiment, we continued to wear match cases from which, once upon a time, we would light our grenades and throw them. Grenadiers always wear match cases. And the bearskin cap, also known as a miter cap, triangular in shape, to make it easy for us to sling arms, to put our muskets over our heads, onto our shoulders, so we could have our hands ready for grenades.
Very good. Thank you very much. By the American Revolution, the grenades had gone somewhat out of favor. I'm not sure if you explained this, but in the song, there's a song called British Grenadiers, and you always hear it in movies and everything, and it talks about what grenadiers do. And at one point it says, "We throw them o'er the glacis about our enemies' ears." What's a glacis? It's that killing ground, that flat area around a fort. So you throw it over the glacis about your enemy's ears. But you have to be close enough to throw it over the glacis and into the fort. By the 1770s, military hardware had advanced to the point that anybody that got that close to a fort was dead. So the idea that the grenades had lost their value to some degree and didn't really come back into warfare until they became anti-personnel weapons in World War I and II, much, much later. But that's where the grenadiers get their name, is from grenades.
When we think of what a Continental soldier looks like, we tend to think of that image that came out of the old Continental Insurance ad of the stalwart soldier in his blue and red coat with his musket and his white belts and everything's perfect. Well, we're here to show you that things aren't always what they seem. The men were perfectly well disciplined, but they wore a variety of clothing. And I think you'll find out today, just from this one example, one regiment as we see them over time, how different a regiment could look from one year to the next. And before we get too far along, the first person I want to call is Private Smith from Captain Soper's company. Private Smith is serving in a brown short jacket called a bounty coat, because the previous year, after Lexington had conquered, he was part of Captain Kempton's company of militia that marched to the April 19th alarm, and he enlisted in the Massachusetts Army for the rest of the year. As part of his enlistment bounty, he received this brownish drab coat with numbered military buttons as being the distinctive garment of his regiment. When Captain Massey Soper of Dartmouth raised his company in the summer of 1777 as a part of the state regiment guarding Boston Harbor, Private Smith decided to wear his brand new military coat so he could look like a soldier. He is also carrying a captured French musket left over from the previous war. He's also carrying an old French cartridge box on his hip, a wooden canteen on his side, and an old French-style bayonet on a white leather belt, probably his father's bayonet belt that he carried with his militia. Instead of a military cocked hat, he wears a much more practical round hat or flop hat. Shields the sun from his eyes, which is very good when you're doing guard duty out at Castle Island on a warm summer's day like this. Private Smith, would later be court-martialed for, quote, easing himself off the walls of the fort. If you don't understand what that means, he was deciding to use the walls of the fort as his personal prison. You take your ease where you can. Underneath his coat, he is wearing a white woolen waistcoat or vest, and underneath that, a new pair of woolen overalls that he received from the clothier in Boston because his breeches were well nigh worn out. This comprised his soldier's garb for the rest of 1776, and in all likelihood when he re-enlisted as part of Captain Soper's company under the new establishment in the winter of 1776-77. For 3 years of the duration of the war, this was his new uniform and would be the uniform he would wear into service when he marched off to Fort Ticonderoga. Thank you, Private Smith. Perhaps if you could march across the front so these nice people could see you and take post over to the left. And we'll parade everybody out at the end. If I could have Mr. Kenny, please. Paul Kenny is dressed in the uniform that was issued out to at least one of the companies at the time of the Battle of Saratoga in the year 1777. He would have been wearing this coat during the coat was being worn at the time of the surrender because a German or Brunswick officer described a regiment of Massachusetts infantry dressed in brown coats with sea green facings and linings. We believe this to be the coat worn by at least half of Colonel Marshall's regiment at the time of the surrender and likely worn during the battles of Saratoga, which we participated in. And it was also the coat that he would have worn when he marched to Valley Forge. It was also the coat he would have worn when we marched out of Valley Forge, took part in the Medal Ensign. They are a piece of silk, 6 feet high by 6.5 feet long, and each regiment's colors had something different painted on them. We know what the 10th Mass or Colonel Marshall's regiment looked like because one of the officers sent a description back home to Boston, and in our case, the color consists of a blue-brown with the hand of God extending out of the heavens, bestowing liberty upon the arrows, which represent, if you do a quick count, to my young scholars in the audience, how many arrows are there in the bundle? I heard somebody say it. How many? 13, representing the 13 colonies now, after 1776, 13 states. We are now tied together as one nation of 13 states, with the Almighty bestowing liberty. And if you look at the little scrolls on either side, it says virtue's reward. Virtue meaning to do the right thing, to support the cause of liberty, and to be willing to fight and die for it. That is what the Almighty is bestowing liberty upon us, and that we should receive our liberty so long as we should be virtuous and be worthy of it. This was the flag which our regiment fought under and never lost.
Every day we throw away tons of trash that could easily be recycled. Every week in Massachusetts, we throw out almost 1 million newspapers. We use more than 9,000 plastic bottles every minute.
But only about 25% of them are recycled.
Some people think recycling takes too much time or it's too hard. This is going to be our world soon.
Help us take care of it.
Recycle.
It's one place where a little effort
can make a big difference.
Honey, how about some chocolate chip pancakes?
Dry toast and black coffee will be fine.
Pork bellies closed steady due to speculation that demand for bacon-related products will...
Plastic ones last longer.
Honey, look at what I got you.
Didn't they have anything in a sensible gray? Read me this one, Daddy.
Okay, honey.
The less art kids get, the more it shows. Are yours getting enough? Art. Ask for more. AmericansForTheArts.org.
Sun exposure starting in childhood is a major cause of skin cancer. That's why you should apply a high SPF sunscreen and keep your kids covered up whenever they're outside, not just at the beach or pool. Protect your children from the sun. They'll thank you for it someday.
Every day we throw away tons of trash that could easily be recycled. Every week in Massachusetts, we throw out almost 1 million newspapers. We use more than 9,000 plastic bottles every minute.
But only about 25% of them are recycled.
Some people think recycling takes too much time or it's too hard. This is going to be our world soon.
Help us take care of it.
Recycle.
It's one place where a little effort
can make a big difference.
So you don't recycle. What's your excuse? Are the bins too heavy? Perhaps there's just too much bending involved, or you think maybe there's not enough trash in the world. I know. Those recycling bins, they're the wrong color. Oh, you might break a nail on one of those plastic milk jugs, or maybe you're waiting for a professional wrestler to endorse recycling. Well, get real. People recycle because it's the right thing to do, and every little bit helps. Interested? Call 1-800-CLEANUP and recycle. A little effort makes a big difference.
I work out every day. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 24. COVID won't kill me.
I have antibodies. COVID won't kill me.
It's been a long week. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 25. COVID won't kill me.
I'm partying outside. COVID won't kill me.
I don't need to wear a mask around my friends. COVID won't kill me.
I'm 23. COVID won't kill me.
If I haven't gotten it yet, COVID won't kill me.
I'm young. COVID won't kill me.
Famous last words. Don't let them be yours. Socially distance. Mask up, America.